Another old house down that the levee will be taken. This was the Hickey White field. We dedicate to Hickey White. He died as a young man when he was in high school, I think he was, or he just got out of high school. Additional houses that would be tore. There's England, Crystal Avenue you can see going around by these houses. More old houses that will be torn down for make way for the levee. Additional houses that are being taken by the levee at Crystal City in Old Town. This is at Old Town, the old white elephant that was in Old Town back in the 30s and the 40s. Two-story building. They had a tavern in the bottom, and it was there. It had a name of its own. I hate to say what the name is. This is Mrs. Basil at the Basil store in Old Town. That was by the cemetery down there on England Drive. William Basil store down another angle of the store down on England Avenue. This is Mr. DiMaggio and his wife that had a grocery store in Old Town. There's the old Yellow Dog in Old Town down there. That was another tavern, and they called it Yellow Dog. The gentleman in the front there, they called Booger Marshall. Real nice guy. Real nice. This is an old place over in Crystal City. I don't know where the tavern was, but I think the one man in the white shirt, I think he is Colbert. He had a saloon in Festus at one time. He was in business with a guy by the name of Bill Owens over there, and I think later he went back over to Crystal City. Here's a car that's, I don't know what in the street is over there. And a bunch of look like teenagers or kids that were out having fun at that time, where they were all hanging around the car. I really don't know. I know some of their names, but I'd forgotten them. Same group of kids in Crystal. The old car is sitting there posing for the picture. This is supposed to be Broadway over in Crystal City, part of a block and a half of Broadway over in Crystal City. This is another part of Old Town over there around Broadway in Crystal City, from probably from the back of the bank on down the street there. This is in Crystal City. There's the old boards where they had to drive up into their yard. But this is in Crystal City, the old Broadway. This is Mississippi Avenue in Crystal City, starting about where 2nd Street is. This is 1910 Mississippi Avenue. And you can see where they come around the corner and the old buggy wheels there yet. And that's down Mississippi, is what they tell me. We're coming out of Festus into Crystal Village now. The other meeting we had, we talked about all the places in Crystal, but we didn't have no video on them. All the businesses, place that was in there, in the Old Town, the name of all the businessmen that had places of business that we started over here in Crystal Village and went through that. But that was all the talk. These are pictures now. This is Crystal Village. I think that the one with the little round dome right in the middle there is the one that Olin put up. Olin put up these buildings, him and Bill Klein. Okay, this is the stoplights at Crystal City and Highway 61 Truman Boulevard now. This is the stoplights there. You can see in the background, the white building in the background was the Liberty Creamery. The white building to the left in the background, that is Liberty Creamery. Now this picture is the old Liberty Creamery, but this was a fairly modern time because this was before the horse and the buggy was used there. And back of this was a horse stall where they kept their horses to deliver milk around Crystal City. It was, and they had a coal yard back there by the Liberty Creamery. But this is the trucks. They look like they're about 36, 37. And before that, like I say, your milk was delivered to your house by the milkman. You put your bottle on, you put your empty bottles on the porch, the milkman would come by, pick them up, but that was with horse and carriage. Here's your, it must have been a flood year. Here's this man named McClanahan. They called him Mac, and he worked for Liberty Creamery, and he's pulling his horse through the water, the flood water, down there where the little houses used to be. There's about 5 or 6 little houses now that are tore down in 2003, and somebody's going to put it looks like a used car lot there. But at that time, Mac and his horse name was Roxy. And Mac would go around, like I say, and he'd get off his horse. He'd get him how many people were in that block, and he would deliver the milk, and the horse would walk along the side of the street until it got to the block, and it would stop. And then Mac would put his empties on his delivery wagon, get fresh milk, and drive the horse across the street and get out and walk again to deliver his milk to each one of the patrons, and then the horse would walk by itself again till it got to the next block, and it would stop. And then Mac would do the same process again by putting the empties on and getting 6 or 8 new bottles. Now these houses here are the houses that used to be down on the Crystal City side of the stoplight. Those houses in there were put up by the fellow by the name of the Schaefer. And Schaefer's was called Schaefer's Platte. And he also, where the Baptist church is today, was a great big old hill. And I mean, it was as high as the hill up in Crystal Terrace. And they cut that down. I have pictures of that with the old skip bucket and mules. And they cut that hill down to where it's fairly flat into Crystal Village there. But at one time that was a hill as high as the railroad crossing there at the highway. This is a pretty neat picture here. This is over on Bailey Road in Crystal City where the Fox building is. And that's a pretty neat picture. I like all the old cars along the side there, but Fox boys from down in the Lead Belt come and put those buildings up in 1924, I think it was, and the last time we went through all the businesses that was there, like the Kroger store and Dugan's and Picarella's, and on the corner was Funk's drugstore. I mean, not Funk's drugstore, but well, it wasn't Dorsey either. What was his name there in that Crystal City drugstore down on Bailey Road there? Barker's drugstore, yeah. Great old man Barker. But the kids went in there to get their milkshakes and sundaes and comic books and that. But all those buildings were full at one time back in the 20s and 30s. That's a pretty neat picture. This is another neat picture of the same area, only different time in history. And Barker's drugstore is right here on the corner, right there on the corner. And the thing right here in the middle of it wasn't a light. Look at that light, it's just hanging down. And across right here it says parking in the rear. That's the little sign that's hung on the guide wires going from Dorsey's drugstore over to Dorsey's there. Here's partially talk about the old boardwalk in Crystal City. Well, this is part of the old boardwalk in Crystal City. You can see in the background, you can see it way up there, you can see the Catholic Church along through this area. The building there, the first building in Crystal City, Festus right there. Here's the Catholic Church right up here, and you can see part of the path in there coming from Festus right through there. And that come around, and that's the old famous boardwalk they talked about all the time. Here's another picture of the flood there and the boardwalk going out there, and spectators, and some of the old people. Like I say, the women always wore hats in those days. I don't care where they went. If they went out to the incinerator to throw their garbage, it seemed like they wore hats, men the same way. But this is down where the Eagles Club is, Little League Field. The new church is down there. It used to be the old post office, like I say, which we talked quite a bit about old businesses last time in Crystal City. There's another neat picture of the old boardwalk going from Festus to Crystal, or Crystal to Festus, whichever way. But you can see a man with his wagon here going along the side of the boardwalk. I don't think the boardwalk would be wide enough, so I think the man is right on the edge of the boardwalk right here. You can see in the background, you can see Festus over here. You can see the church right in there, and a few houses up there at that time. Now we're up to the corner on Bailey Road, where what you can see is the old Dugan filling station there. Cutter car ran that for years. The house next to it, and the stone, not wall, but housing for guards to guard the bank. They used to brag about that the bank couldn't be robbed because they had not security, but guards in those pillars when the payroll would come into Crystal City Bank. But they got fooled because somebody still robbed the bank in '38, I think, something like that. There's the bank right here. That's the bank, but they got fooled because they ended up getting robbed. And there is the two stone structures when the payroll come in from St. Louis to the bank. And I think on the man with the delivering the bilk, I said his name was McClanahan. It wasn't McClanahan. It was, his name was McMullen. It wasn't McClanahan. I'm sorry about that. Here we are at the main office in Crystal before it goes over the railroad track going into the town of Crystal City, which was in 1924, I think the office building was built. There we are right there. This is a hospital building. It was built later. That's the hospital building there. You can see in the background, that's Crystal City. The main street you can see there is Bailey Road. That's viewing Crystal City right there. It's all the way up the railroad track going through. There's New Crystal right there. This is a picture of the hotel, part of the hotel in the Mississippi Avenue. On the right over here is the old wooden bridge. You can see it to the left there. You can see the wooden bridge, and that's Mississippi Avenue. The trees are small. A carriage in front. The old hotel. At that time it was called the Farmer's Hotel. Later Crystal Hotel, and then later than that it was called the New Crystal Hotel. This picture is even older than the previous picture we showed. Over in Crystal you can see just a few people standing in front. Not a real clear picture, but it is an old picture of the old hotel over in Crystal City. There's along the side of it, small picture is what it is. But still the dirt street, and you can see the building next to it where old man Siebert had his barber shop for many years. I think he bought the hotel in 1920 from Pittsburgh Plate Glass. Here's the old Crystal Hotel again. Fun picture of Crystal City Hotel. Right here, cars coming up over the bridge. You can see all the way down Main Street there, which we talked about before, that the businesses were on there. The old Roxy Theater down there, and we talked before the old Roxy Theater, National had the Air Dome, Seawalls Market, Lonnie Cross's Tavern, and Darcy's Drugstore, in the city building on the corner. There's a young lady going probably from PPG on her breaks to get a sandwich or something. Vaughn's were big for that, Vaughn's Dairy, and then they had a little, where the Coca-Cola sign was at that time, it was Barker's Drug. Barker moved them down there. Originally it was Funk and Smith Barbershop. That's the old Crystal City Main Street, the cobblestone streets there. I think it became in existence in 1904. This is up Crystal Main Street again. Pretty neat picture here of Crystal Main Street there. Went all the way down. At that time, Crystal City was doing pretty good in the 30s and 40s. There's a picture of the whole Main Street coming up over the bridge and turn, but Pittsburgh got to where they were employing so many people down there that it was hard to find a parking place over in Crystal City, and most of the guys going on the evening shift would park in behind the places of business, so the patrons didn't have any parking place. And same way on days, the guys would go in 7:30, punch in by 8 o'clock. Well, the business is open 8:30, 9 o'clock, and a lot of the parking places were gone. It's a picture of Crystal Main Street again. It's a big picture. It's about 16 by 24. The picture I have, so we'll have to scan it a little bit. But we're looking down the right-hand side of Crystal City, which, like I said before, we did say what the businesses were on there. Like I said, down there where the little awning is, why the post office was down there, and the Seawalls Meat Market was down there, and Bond's Dairy was down there, and then up this way a little bit was McLean's shop and the bar. And that shows it on the right hand side, and you can see further down to the end of the building down there, there was the city building. And we'll scan a little bit across. There's the middle of Main Street. There's the south end of it, where old Hobart Vaughn had his Pontiac dealership, the tall building on the right, left-hand side, the white building. And you're coming up that side over there. The Skulls Hardware was in there, and Lorne Welch had an insurance company in there. Bill Bagano was in there, had a little restaurant up this way. Further, there's a restaurant right in that area, there at the end there. The Union Hall is in there. Places to rent upstairs at the Union Hall. But that's a pretty big picture, so I had to scan a little bit of it so you could see the bridge. And that's the end of it there. But that must have been sometime, it looks like, by the cars, and that was probably in the 50s. And like I said, Crystal City had a good business. The 40s and the 30s and the 40s and the 50s, they started taking over because they were employing so many at PPG, and they didn't have no parking area, and it just kind of went down after that. Here's the right-hand side of the main street going north, and it wouldn't be complete without kids on a bicycle, because not everybody, but most of the kids in those days, they rode bicycles, a lot of bicycles. And police is down there on the left-hand side with about a circle. There was a filling station down there. I think Rutledge owns that filling station at this time, where the firehouse is. That was a small picture. There's the south side again, or the east side of Main Street again. Right here, awning. There's the Pontiac dealer down there, which was there's old Bagano's store. Hooks had a old market back there in the 1913. Hooks had a market in there next to the white building. Lorne Welch had his business. That guy standing by a car is Irvin Obashan. This is in the post office there. I don't know who the gentleman is, who was a postman. I know after that, Cotton Fulls was the postmaster over in Crystal City. But I don't know who that man is. He must have been before Cotton Fulls. Cotton Fulls, I think, was there probably sometime in the 40s. I know he was there in the 50s. But that's inside the old post office in Crystal City right there. Now this is taken from the west side of Main Street facing the east. I think the man with the straw hat on there was Ralph Reeser. He was one of the organizers of the Union, and that cafe, I don't know whose cafe it is on the window. This is inside the old Midtown Tavern, like I say, the favorite watering hole in Crystal, one of them. Lonnie Cross's was another good watering hole where the guys from PPG go up and get the glass out of their throats, have a few beers before and after work. Remember if I showed this picture a while ago or not, but this is the east side of Main Street there. This is a pretty darn old picture here. There's the old gas guzzler there. Wasn't much compared to nowadays, but that was down by where Begano's had his store in the 50s, and that this is probably back in the 20s here. This is the east side of Main Street. You can see after those group of buildings, there's nothing but open field, and you can see all the way up Mississippi at that time. That there was nothing but trees along the side. This is the old Kroger store, one of them over in Crystal. This is one of my favorite pictures here. Is you can see that all the women have hats on. This is the Kroger store, and all the women have hats on, and even this little girl over here has a hat on. Hat, we know was a big thing back then, but this is a Kroger store. Inside, everybody has their hats on. This is probably one of the oldest pictures I have. I got some other old ones, but this is probably one. This is the famous Lithium Hall that they talked about. That's where they had the school, the library, the gym, general store, which was owned by PPG at the time. They sold all kinds of food stuff in this store, and this store is located down by where the present City Hall is today. But this was Lithium Hall, they call it. L-Y-C-E-U-M, Lithium Hall. And that was an all-purpose building, a big building, and I don't know if they tore it down or if it burned. This is the old city building. You can see the steps that used to go up the side. They had one on the other side of the building. That was a city hall there. That was you had the library in there. They had the police station, water department in there. The first floor is the library. Second floor, they had viewing for the movies. The movie house was in there, and the third floor was like a gym. Nasia May, during the war, they had Teen Town up in the top of that building. The little building next to it was the outdoor theater. That was a movie house, but they showed the movies outside. Got a lot of other pictures of that. There's Main Street again on the south side going north. The old lamp post in front. All the way up. The thing that got me too is that flagpole on top of the old hotel up there. I've never seen the flag fly, but that flagpole's been there ever since I could remember. The old city building, when it burnt, I think it was 1981 that the city building burned down before they put up the present city building. You see a few of the ladders. It's not a great picture. All the fire hoses draped around, but it burned down, and I think it was 1981. picture is Mississippi Avenue. From the north side of it, looks like in the background, way in the background back here, you can see where there's a rise in the road, and I would imagine that's a bridge. There's some old guy sneaking around the corner there, and I think this was before even the cobblestones were put down on Mississippi up to 3rd Street, and that was 1904. The city building again. This is before it caught on fire. You can see this is the outdoor theater, and it was probably there, oh, I don't know when it was put up. It was there in the 30s, so maybe the 20s, but that's the outdoor theater they talked about over in Crystal City. Picture. There's a picture of the Roxy Theater. It was put up, I think, 37, 38, or 39. That was the Crystal City Roxy Theater right there. This is Mississippi Avenue. And you can see there all frame houses. That car you see there in front was supposed to have been Hook's car, and it was the first one on Mississippi Avenue. That's what the bottom of the picture says, but that was supposed to be Mississippi Avenue. And here it says Huck's first Ford on Mississippi. That was Mississippi. It's hard to believe. Like I say, different era of time. It's hard to believe that those houses were there like that. But the picture, I guess, doesn't lie. And the writing, the one who put it on there, seen the old Ford there, and it said the first Ford on Mississippi. This is supposed to be the first 3 brick houses on Mississippi Avenue. And one was a Hess, and one was a Jolly, and I don't know, the other one was a doctor's house, Miss Alvo told me. But that's great again. There's 2 little girls, probably look like 9 to 14 years old, 13 years old, and they got their little hats on. And this building is still existing, but it's an old building. It's on the corner of 2nd and Mississippi there. And you can see the burglar alarm system right above the window on the corner. That was the first bank in Crystal City, and that was there in 1924, that building, and the bank was there before it moved up to its new location up by the hospital in Bailey Road. And they say that a guy by the name of the bank was in the first part of the building, and a guy by the name of Portel had his radio service and electric wiring, motors and things in there. In the back part of it, they say, is this little part, the back part of it, were Harder, F.W. Harder had been at one time, and that's the first building starting on the other side of 2nd Street in Crystal City. Okay, this is the bridge up by the library in 2003. I don't know who lives in that house there. That's the old bridge there. That's part of the road going on up. Before that, it turned by the library and went down towards Bradford's and underneath the trestle by going to the boat dock and then over on the boat dock road. But this is the old wooden bridge up there just before 1917, because a new bridge was put in 1917. This is Mississippi Avenue in Hugtown, they called it at the time. But that's a wooden bridge up across from the library on the northwest corner. I don't see no road going through there. It's all solid from the bridge here. This place here is where the library is today in 2003. This was a tavern at that time, and it was a Ray tavern. This is the part of it here's the papers saying Ray Heist Brothers Saloon, North Crystal City, Missouri. Crystal City, Missouri. Doesn't say what year they're on the paper, but this is Ray Heist's saloon right here. This is a saloon or a tavern. This is the same place, tavern, where the library is. This was a Cazo, I think, owned that at this time. It said at their top, I had written in Colombian beer, Columbia, St. Louis. That was where the beer distributor was from St. Louis, Missouri. But that was the old Cazo. Cazo had a saloon there. There it was, and the men are Gus Stakely, Weidman, and Tony Ludus. That was the men here on the front porch at the tavern. This one here is the same place, and I think Churches had a grocery store in there. That's where the library is today also, but it was, instead of a tavern, it was a grocery store. Church, you can see on the window, Church is grocery. And those guys on there are where Crystal is now, 1920 it says. The library is today. And the guys on there, the first one's Wyman Hopes, the next one's a Wyman Pruno, and then Ben Jokers is the third guy there. This is the same place where the library is. I don't know if that says whose name is there. It says building, but that place is the same as where the library is today. There's part of the old wooden bridge there you can see, but that's where the library is today. This is 1936. That's when the river was froze over here at Crystal City, Missouri. There's three guys on the ice out there, and the river is froze. 1936. There's Dubs Walter Barton out there on the ice. 1936. The river was froze over. You can see it wasn't smooth. It was a lot of rough. Ice on there. This is the famous racetrack that it was in Crystal City. None of us ever seen it. Never seen it. It says here 1913, and it was started 8 years before that, and I think that put it to 1887. That's the fairground in Crystal City up on Mississippi. This side where the grade school is today, and it ran kind of out of the north east to the southwest down towards Jefferson and Taylor and over to Virginia. That was a flyer. That was the on the front page of a book I have, and that shows the racing. This is inside the racetrack. It looks like the band is going to strike up a little bit here to make a little bit of music for them. You can see the viewing stand in the back and the people standing around the railing. This is a picture, was a panoramic view. All the pictures I'm going to show you is 1, 2, 3, 4 pictures that are by 8 by 12 or 14. And they were one I had to separate them to be able to get them viewed. But that's inside on the infield of the racetrack. There's more people standing on the inside of the track. You can see a few of the houses in the background as a racetrack there. That was, like I say, up the northeast part of town. And here's the women with their hats on, the little girls with their hats on, or a little ribbon in their hair. This is on the infielder. That's all your big batters. And like I say, you can see the little boys there with their hats on, the grown men with the hats on. The hats were the thing of the day. This is 1813. You can see everybody has a hat on. Even the little girls have a hat on. That's on the infield part of the racetrack. That's more on the inside part of the racetrack. Like I say, the guys got the derby hats on. The little girl down in the front and center, she's got her hat on. Her little sister looks like she's got her hat on. And that bandstand there in the middle, I don't know what was the problem there with, there's more people, more houses over there. But I was going to say, I don't know what the problem was with people. And Crystal had a thing with bandstand. I got about 6 or 7 pictures, and every one of them's a different location in Crystal City with a bandstand. Somebody knew how to make a bandstand, and they worked that guy to death, because I got 6 different locations of bandstands. Here, this guy here, he's on a mule out there. He's on the racetrack, but he has a mule. Here's the viewing where you've seen all the people sitting and talking a while ago underneath the roof there. But this guy, he's got him a mule there. Is underneath the bandstand, I mean the roof there, where they're protected from the sun. But the hats are really prevalent. You can see that. Everybody had a hat. I guess you wasn't nobody if you didn't wear a hat in those days. But everybody seemed to wear a hat. There's a racetrack over in Crystal. You can see it was a buggy race track. It wasn't where you have your thoroughbreds. These were trotters. These were trotters, and I can't think of the name. I think a man by the name of Perriman in Crystal City owned one of the horses, and I think one of the winning jockeys over there was a colored man by the name of Mosby. He was the winningest jockey over there at the racetracks. The way I understand it, Mosby was his name. And Perriman owned a horse or two over there that he raced at the Crystal City track.